This video breaks down the four main surfaces, explains the strategic edge each offers, and shows how legends like Nadal, Federer, and Serena Williams tailored their games to win, adapting footwork, spin, and shot selection. Building on the surprise of how each surface changes play, the next step is to see why those courts ever existed. Grass courts began as a pastime for English country clubs. In 1873, Walter Clopton Wingfield patented lawn tennis. And the first Wimbledon tournament in 1877 used the club's manicured lawns. The soft, even grass gave a fast, low bounce, matching the era's preference for quick serve and volley games. Clay courts emerged in France as a practical solution to damp weather. By the late 1800s, French clubs laid crushed brick and limestone, creating a forgiving surface that drained water quickly. The French championships moved to the newly built Stade Roland Garros in 1928, cementing clay's role in the sport. Its slower pace and higher bounce forced longer rallies, rewarding stamina and spin. Hard courts appeared later, driven by cost and durability. In the United States, the USDA built the first concrete courts in the 1950s, later coating them with acrylic layers such as DecoTurf. The US Open switched to this surface in 1978, offering a consistent bounce that required fewer maintenance crews. Australia followed suit, adopting Plexicushion in 2008 for its National Open, seeking a medium-speed court that balanced power and control. These three surfaces survived because each solved a specific problem. Grass offered tradition and speed, clay gave weather resilience and longer points, and hard courts provided uniformity and low upkeep. Together, they created the strategic triangle that defines modern tennis. The story moves from origins to the moments that shaped each court's tactical edge. In 1968, the Open era began, letting professionals play on all surfaces for the first time. Wimbledon kept its historic grass, forcing serve and volley play that still defines the tournament. 4 years later, the French Open cemented red clay as its permanent stage, rewarding long rallies and heavy topspin. The US Open debuted on grass in 1968, but switched to hard true clay in 1975. Then to DecoTurf hard courts in 1978, each change altering speed and bounce. That 1978 shift gave power hitters a new advantage, prompting a surge in baseline aggression. The Australian Open followed a similar path, moving from grass to rebound ace hard courts in 1988, then to Plexicushion in 2008. Each upgrade reducing foot slippage and sharpening serve precision. Indoor Tour introduced synthetic carpet in the early 1970s, offering ultra-fast play that favored flat hitters. The carpet era faded after the ATP retired it in 2009 due to injury concerns. In 1997, the ITF classified courts into 3 speed categories: slow, medium, fast, standardizing how tournament organizers could tune conditions. Rafael Nadal's 2005 French Open triumph highlighted clay's reward for extreme topspin, while Sam Sampers's 1995 Wimbledon win showcased grass's low bounce for serve dominance. By 2010, data from Hawk-Eye tracking showed that hard courts produced the highest average rally length, confirming the surface's balanced nature. Each of these milestones stacked together, creating the strategic map players navigate today. Building on those hidden details, the true pivot arrived in 1978 when the United States Tennis Association replaced the grass at Flushing Meadows with a synthetic hard court called DecoTurf. The change was not a whim. Organizers faced relentless rain, high maintenance costs, and a growing demand for television-friendly surfaces that could withstand back-to-back matches. By laying down a uniform acrylic layer, the US Open created a playing field that stayed consistent day after day. That decision reshaped every strategic choice on court. On grass, low bounces rewarded serve and volley players who rushed the net. The new hard surface produced higher, more predictable bounces, allowing baseline rallies to dominate. Power hitters discovered that a fast, flat serve could still penetrate the court, while defensive players found new angles to exploit. Jimmy Connors, a relentless baseliner, suddenly thrived, winning the title 3 years in a row. In contrast, John McEnroe's classic net rushes lost some of their edge, forcing him to develop deeper ground strokes. The shift also sparked equipment innovation. Racket manufacturers introduced stiffer frames and larger sweet spots to the harder bounce. while shoe designers added extra cushioning for the unforgiving surface. Within a single season, coaching manuals began to rewrite drills, emphasizing footwork and endurance over pure volley technique. In short, the 1978 surface swap turned the U.S. Open from a grass-centric showcase into a hard-court proving ground, redefining how the sport is played at the highest level. While the timeline maps the rise of each court, hidden details explain why those surfaces shape play so differently. Grass at Wimbledon is a 100% ryegrass mix topped with a thin layer of sand, trimmed to exactly 8 millimeters. That precise height lets the blades flex on impact, absorbing energy and forcing the ball to stay low. The soil beneath is a carefully graded loam that drains quickly, so rain-softened grass never becomes a mud pit. Clay courts hide a layered secret. A base of crushed limestone, a middle of brick dust, and a top coat of finely ground red brick. Rollers compact the surface to a specific hardness measured in penetrometer units. A softer roll yields higher friction, letting topspin bounce higher. Humidity changes the water content of that brick dust, shifting the coefficient of friction by up to 15% across a single match. Hard courts appear uniform, yet the acrylic layers differ in sand content. A higher sand ratio raises the International Tennis Federation's court pace, rating from 30 slow to 45 fast. Temperature also matters. A court at 30 degrees C can be 2 points faster than the same surface at 15 C because the resin softens and returns more energy. Indoor carpet, now rare, was built from woven nylon fibers glued to a foam backing. The fiber's nap direction created a subtle side spin bias, rewarding players who sliced the ball. Even the balls themselves adapt. Tournament-approved balls are stored in climate-controlled rooms. But once rolled onto a humid clay court, they absorb moisture, gaining weight and reducing speed. These overlooked factors combine to give each surface its strategic edge, turning every tournament into a distinct tactical puzzle. After uncovering each court's quirks, the story shifts to the people who built, maintained, and mastered those surfaces. Their choices turned a slab into a tactical battlefield. Bill Tilden saw fast grass rewarded serve and volley, while Rod Laver learned slow clay required patience and topspin. Their experiments showed surface-dictated strategy, urging champions to adapt. The International Tennis Federation introduced the court pace rating in the 1970s to classify speed, giving officials a balancing tool. Engineer Howard Head later added modern hard courts, with DecoTurf debuting at the U.S. Open in 1978, creating a medium-fast surface. Wimbledon's All England club maintains a low bouncing grass that favors quick points, while the French Open's Roland Garros crew adds extra clay to slow the ball, rewarding endurance. Melbourne Park switched to Plexicushion in 2008 to reduce injuries. Rafael Nadal's heavy topspin on clay turned the French Open into his domain, prompting the court crew to favor slower, higher bounce courts. Roger Federer's precision kept Wimbledon's grass short and fast, while Novak Djokovic's all-court game thrives on hard courts bounce. Coaches such as Nick Bollettieri taught young players to adjust footwork for each surface, while former pros like John McEnroe analyze footage to reveal hidden tactical edges. Together, designers, officials, champions, and mentors weave a complex web where surface choice becomes a strategic weapon, shaping every rally and every tournament outcome. The influence of those architects and innovators becomes clear when the scale of each surface is examined. Today, the ATP Tour stages roughly 60% of its events on hard courts, 20% on clay, and another 15% on grass, with the remaining slots once filled by carpet before its removal in 2009. This distribution shapes the calendar. The Australian Open and US Open both unfold on acrylic hard surfaces. The French Open on red clay and Wimbledon on natural grass. Those numbers translate into career-defining advantages. Rafael Nadal has amassed 112 wins on clay, a record that underpins his 14 French Open titles. Roger Federer's 71 grass victories fuel his 8 Wimbledon crowns. On hard courts, Novak Djokovic's 85 titles give him a dominant edge across the 2 Grand Slams that use that surface. The surface bias is not limited to stars. Lower-ranked players from Spain and Argentina often climb the rankings by exploiting clay court familiarity. while American and Australian prospects find early success on hard courts. Economically, each surface drives distinct costs and revenues. Maintaining a grass venue can require up to $2 million per year in mowing, irrigation, and reseeding. Yet Wimbledon still generates over $150 million in ticket and broadcast income. Hard courts demand less upkeep, allowing clubs to host more events and sell additional court time, boosting local economies. Training programs now mirror these market forces. Shoe manufacturers such as Asics and Nike produce surface-specific models that balance grip and shock absorption, while national federations allocate funding to build courts that match their strategic focus. The ripple effect reaches playing style. Baseline rallies dominate on clay, serve and volley resurges on grass, and power-driven baseline play thrives on hard courts. Injury data from the ATP's 2022 medical report shows a 12% rise in knee strain on hard courts, contrasted with a 9% increase in ankle sprains on grass. These patterns force players to adapt conditioning routines, further cementing each surface's long-term impact on the sport's evolution. With the impact of surfaces now clear, the debate over their fairness intensifies. Critics argue that the current mix of clay, grass, and hard courts creates an uneven playing field. Some analysts point to the ITF court pace rating, where clay scores a 2, grass a 3, and most hard courts a 4, as evidence that speed differences are built into the sport. Rafael Nadal has repeatedly said that clay rewards stamina and spin, while power hitters feel disadvantaged. Roger Federer, on the other hand, has praised grass for rewarding quick footwork and low bounces, calling it the most pure surface. Novak Djokovic has warned that frequent surface changes disrupt rhythm and increase injury risk. A 2019 ITF study measured bounce height variations of up to 3 centimeters between clay and grass, a gap that can alter shot selection dramatically. The Australian Open's switch from rebound ace to plexicushion, then to green set, sparked arguments that tournament organizers manipulate speed to favor certain players. Former world number 5 Gilles Simon suggested that the French Open's slow clay undermines the sport's global appeal. Indoor carpet courts were removed from the ATP calendar after medical reports linked them to higher ankle injuries, a move praised by player unions but lamented by specialists who enjoyed the fast pace. The governing bodies now face the unresolved question of whether a universal surface could level competition or erase the sport's historic diversity. Until a consensus emerges, the controversy will keep shaping strategies, training methods, and the very identity of tennis. Following the heated debate over which surface grants the biggest edge, the mechanics behind each court type come into focus. The key lies in how the surface treats the ball's bounce and the player's movement. Friction, hardness, and moisture together shape speed, height, and spin. Grass courts consist of tightly packed blades and a sand-filled base. The low-friction grass lets the ball skid, producing a low, fast bounce that often stays under 3 feet. This favors players who rush the net and rely on flat serves, a style exemplified by Roger Federer's success at Wimbledon. Clay courts blend crushed brick, limestone, and a fine dust top layer. High friction slows the ball and lifts it to 4 feet or more, while the surface absorbs energy. The result is slower rallies and a pronounced topspin advantage, a formula mastered by Rafael Nadal on the French Open. Hard courts sit between the extremes. An acrylic coating over asphalt or concrete offers medium friction and uniform hardness. Bounce height settles around 3.5 feet, and speed remains consistent across the surface. Such conditions reward balanced players, as seen in Novak Djokovic's record on the US Open hard courts. These physical traits stem from the materials themselves. Grass blades compress under weight, clay particles shift and settle, and acrylic layers lock in moisture to fine-tune speed. Engineers calibrate each layer to meet International Tennis Federation standards, ensuring predictable play. Players respond by tweaking footwork, adjusting racket string tension, and selecting shot patterns that suit the bounce. On grass, short steps and low trajectory strokes dominate. On clay, long slides and high topspin prevail. On hard courts, a mix of both approaches thrives. Understanding these underlying systems reveals why certain athletes dominate specific venues and how tournament organizers shape the competitive through surface design. The instant a ball meets the court, the surface takes charge. It does not merely reflect a player's skill. It shapes every angle, every spin, every footstep. Clay slows the ball, granting time for high topspin loops, while grass squeezes the bounce, rewarding flat, low trajectory shots. Hard courts sit in the middle, offering predictability that favors aggressive baseliners. These traits are not random. They arise from friction, elasticity, and surface texture, each a physical rule that players learn to exploit. A player who can read the court's language gains a hidden edge, turning a simple rally into a strategic battle. Consider the 2012 Wimbledon final, where a serve that seemed ordinary on grass became a decisive weapon because the grass's low bounce forced the opponent to stay low and rush. On clay, the same serve would have been swallowed by the slower surface, allowing a returner to counterattack. The court's character, therefore, acts as an invisible opponent, rewarding certain styles while punishing others. When the next match begins, the real contest starts long before the first point. It starts with the choice of surface, the subtle cue that tells a player which tactics will thrive. That opening flash of a ball skidding across grass, once a surprise, now simply echoes the court's quiet command.